unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
Now, please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of most ages? Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show. I am your host, Christopher Rausch, known as the No Excuses Coach, and I'm so thankful for you guys joining us today. We are live on the video cast every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to join us live on the broadcast, check us out. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're all over the place. We would love to have you come check out the broadcast live. I know we're in like 20-something countries, and you guys are on different time zones, of course, but it would be so cool to see some of you guys show up from all across the world. We got people showing up from China sometimes. We got people showing up from England. It's 3:00 in the morning in England, but we've got people waking up. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you guys here being live or on the replay of the Raw and Unscripted show. We are absolutely enjoying the hell out of this. We're celebrating 4 years this year of doing the Raw and Unscripted show. We're in the top 10% of podcasts globally. So thank you guys all so much for sharing these episodes out each and every time you guys watch them. That's the key. This is why I show up every single week, is that I share things with you, and as my guests share things with you, and you get inspired and you start changing your life. What I'd love for you to do is a thank you to me and a thank you to the guest, is share the episode out and say, hey, listen, this is what I learned from this particular episode. Here's, check this guy out. That will help us help other people. And together we can make this world a better place for who we are and what we do by sharing these things. I watch other people's podcasts. I share them. I watch YouTube videos. I share them all together. If we're sharing this stuff and our friends are watching this and we're elevating together, guess what? Raising tides boost all ships, as they say. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. We got Nelly in the house. What's up, Nelly? Thank you for being here. And you want to talk about inspirational? Check out Nelly. Hooked on Humanity right here, as we're known here. But thank you, Nelly, for joining us right now. We got Ted Legal in the house. What's up, Legal? It says Legal Legacy Home and Business Services is joining us from YouTube. He says, hey, everyone, they moved my surgery to Thursday. Not sure what time. Thank you for sharing that. We got our hopes and our prayers with Ted. Ted, taking care of yourself, getting open bypass surgery. So we're going to be thinking about you, Ted. Appreciate you guys for joining in live or on the replay. We got a great show for you. And as always, as you're joining this, please feel free to ask us questions. This is a great opportunity to ask myself, the No Excuses Coach, and also my guests, whenever they come in here. Ask them questions, right? This is an opportunity for you to get your questions answered and to take action in your life. Because when you take action, specifically, each one of these episodes, you take a couple of things out of them, you start applying them in your life. It's pretty incredible over time what that compounded effort will reap in terms of confidence and courage and resiliency and things of that nature. And that's what we're going to be talking about here on the show tonight. Got Chris Kaysen in the house. Well, we got a bunch of Chris's with us tonight. So thank you, Chris Kaysen, being in the house. He says, oh, hi there. Oh, hi there. I think that is. Oh, hi there. I don't know. That might be Victorian or Queen's English or something like that. But thank you for joining us, Chris. And speaking of Chris's, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome to the show a gentleman that I got the opportunity to meet over, the course of the last couple of years here in social media land. We followed each other. We share the same first name, and we found out that we're kind of in the same space as far as inspiring you guys to think differently about your past, present, and your future. And that's the conversation we're going to have tonight, is talking about how we can reframe our flaws to become our superpowers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. Chris Allen. What's up, Chris? Thank you for joining us, brother.
What's going on, man?
Good. Hey, just kicking ass and taking names, right?
That's it, baby. Thank you for having me on the show, man. You got, first of all, I want to say, man, kudos to you, man, and your podcast. You do some amazing things over the last couple of years. I've watched you grow. I've watched you launch. I watched you do some amazing things. So kudos to you for being focused, diligent, and resilient, all those good words, and staying focused on your dreams and your goals, man. So kudos to you, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. It has been a journey. Coming from, I was telling somebody the other day, they said something like, they gave me a nice compliment. They're like, well, you're so confident and you're so authentic. You're just, because I look like this all the time. This is how I look. And so people see me all the time. They're like, what's the bandana for? What's this? I'm like, the bandana is because I hate sweating. It's not a stylistic thing. I just don't like sweating. So that's why I did that. But when you get that opportunity to rock who you are and get to do what you get to do, it's pretty crazy how that becomes infectious for other people. And and I love doing it. So thank you for that, man, because it's all about us showing up. It's all about us showing up in our true colors and our true form of what we can do to live our purpose, right? Our purpose and our mission here in life is to rock who we are, not to pretend to be something we're not or somebody we're not for everybody else. It's not about making somebody else's dreams come true. It's about making our dreams come true. And so my first question for you tonight, Chris, is something I ask most of my guests. What do you want most for people to walk away from this conversation thinking and knowing in their heart of hearts? given everything you've been through in your life, given everything that you're experiencing right now in the world, if you got the microphone to the world right now, what do you want people to walk away from this conversation? Like, okay, I got that.
Never give up. Never give up. And it's not over until it's over.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. You know, I'm 53. I'll be 53 this month, man. I know you just had a birthday, so congratulations.
Yep.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Coming up on the 15th. And the thing that I've learned over the last 53 years, man, was just don't give up. Just don't give up. You know, every day we wake up, and if you have an opportunity to wake up, that's another opportunity to go and chase your dreams and your goals. So you still have another opportunity to make those things manifest. It's not over. It's not over until it's over. Yeah.
So tell me about a time that begs the question. Tell me about a time where you were in that situation. Maybe tell us about a time where you were at a low point in your life. You wanted to give up. You wanted to say fuck it all, and you found the courage, the strength, the resiliency. Whether it was through somebody else who helped you. Talk to us about that time in your life where you kind of had that reimagining of what Chris is really capable of. Because I love what you're talking about, because so many people do not realize how powerful they truly are.
Oh yeah, man. So we're gonna be vulnerable on this show, right? This is a pure a real show, right? It's a real show, man.
That's what it's all about.
2000, you know, I've had some major successes in my life. I had some major failures in my life, but 2022 was a rough year, man. Just to be honest with you, 2022 was a rough year. Going through a breakup, heartbreak, dealing with some emotional things, financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So 2022 was just a rough year. And I made a decision in 2022, 2023 that I was going to go on this journey of self-discovery. And I made a commitment that I was going to go, man. And I'm not trying to go spiritual. I know you're spiritual, but I'm not trying to go spiritual. But I made a commitment. I was going to go to the beach every single day. And I was going to put my face before God and just begin to pray and to meditate and to seek his face and to seek his word and his wisdom over my life. It had gotten so bad, man, that it was like, okay, God, if you're not going to do something in my life, just bring me home. I had just gotten to that point.
You were done.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? It's
like, no, I've been there. I'm like, fuck it, kill me or cure me. Well, let's go.
One of the two. And I'm good with either one at this point in my life, whatever you're going to do. And so I made a commitment, man, that I was going to just go and just seek his face every single day. I did that, bro, for about 6 months. And every day that I would wake up,
wow,
I would literally say to myself, you gave me another day. You gave me another day. Okay, it's not over. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Literally, I'm having this conversation with myself at the beach every single day that he woke me up. And I was put my feet on the ground and say, okay, you woke me up. What you gonna do? Like, what we doing? What we got going on? If you gave me the breath of my body, you gave me strength in my body, you made my lungs work, you're making my heart work, obviously it's not over. So what we gonna do? And that was the journey, man. So from 2023, God has just done some amazing things. Things just start popping off, man. Around that 5-month mark, man, it was, the Bible talks about in Proverbs, he says that a man's gifts will make room for him.
Yes.
And I knew I had some skills. I knew I had some talents, but I really didn't understand my gifts. I began to ask God, you said your gifts. What are my gifts? Not my skills, my talent. What's my gift?
Yeah, baby.
Because the Bible says that he didn't say that your skills going to make room. Because listen, your skills going to get you into the room, but your character's going to keep you there. We know that. But the Bible talks about how your gifts going to make room. When he talks about that word, when he said he's going to make room for you, these are things that you're not going to even have to work for. It's going to just make room for you. Like you're just going to be able to walk into some rooms and things is going to begin to manifest in your life. Right. And that's the true manifestation that we truly want. When the Bible talks about when God brings you to a thing, he's not going to bring any weeping and sorrow to it. There's no remorse. There's no grief to it. Sometimes when you have to put your hand to the plow, sometimes when you're working, you're striving, you're trying to make some things happen. On the back end of that, sometimes there's some grief. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can't get out of the life without it.
Right. So when he talks about how your gifts going to make room for you, I began to see what that was in my life. What are the gifts? And I knew that he woke me up every single day. I knew that there was another day, another opportunity for me to seek this thing out. Now show me what my gifts are. And one by one, he began to manifest those things in my life. So I say this, begin to seek God, man. Begin to seek God and his face and his wisdom and his understanding over your life, because without that, bro, we're nothing. We're nothing.
So I hear what you're saying. I love it. What do you say to the people out there that necessarily, have done that in the past? I've got a lot of people right now that are questioning their faith. They're like, man, I keep throwing it up to God. I keep putting it to God. I keep praying to God. I keep doing these things. My thing is always honest, but tender. Like, okay, yes, you can pray, you can wish, you can hope, but you got to put some action behind it. You got to put some effort in. You got some blood, sweat, and tears behind it. Sure. What do you say to the people that they're kind of throwing it up and say, well, Chris, it sounds great and I'm glad it worked out for you, but I've been trying to throw it up for God for so long. What do we do to add to that, to inspire them to take that extra effort? And what I'm really getting at is, like, so many people say they're doing the best they can, right? Yeah. So many times we hear that, oh, Chris, I'm doing the best I can. We got both Chris, I'm doing the best I can. How many times do we really question somebody in doing their best? Are you really, really doing your best? Is there blood, sweat, and tears involved in it? Are you doing stuff as though, a film camera was following you around? Are you doing it as though somebody has a gun to your child's head? I've proven this time and time again that people aren't doing their best. What is it for you that strives you to do your best? And what can we do to inspire people to get out of that headspace of, oh, I've already tried that and it didn't work?
Sure. For me, man, it was getting to a place where when I put my hands to the plow, when I put my sweat, my equity, my work ethic into it, the Bible says that faith without works is dead. So we know that we're going to have two things. We're going to have a faith and we're going to have some work that we got to back it up with. Yep. Right? So faith without works is dead. So once you begin to work a thing, you got to have that background, which is that faith that moves it forward. I'm going to tell you a story. There was a story in the Bible where the children of Israel, and this is the thing I think that most people fail. The story of Israel was the children was coming from Israel. They knew they were coming from a land of Pharaoh. They were coming from slavery. They were coming from heartache. They were coming from putting their hands to the plow with no rewards because Pharaoh was he was just doing his thing. It was bad over there where Pharaoh was. And God had made a promise to Moses. He said, listen, get my people out of Egypt, and I'm going to take them to a land flowing with milk and honey. We know there was flowing with milk and honey because Caleb and Joshua had already been over there. And they said, man, look, they got grapes over there. These pomegranates over there. It's lovely, bro. We got to go over here to this place, right? So they knew where they were going. They knew where they were coming from. But the Bible says that in that middle passage, that's where they begin to lose faith. Mm-hmm. The middle passage is the unknown. Yeah. I think so many of us, man, we fail because of the unknown. Mm-hmm. We're putting our hands to the plow. We're working, like you said, it's not coming to pass yet. But we know that there's a promise. We know that where we want to go is something great. We know where we were coming from. We were coming from a bad marriage. We were divorced. We were coming from a job that we didn't like. We were coming from something that we're trying to get away from. Yep. But we know where we want to go. It's in that middle passage, man, that we begin to lose it. And so I would say we got to begin to have trust and faith in that middle passage and not complain. Because the Bible talks about the very reason why those people didn't make it into the promised land. There you go. See,
you gotta believe, baby.
You gotta believe, because the Bible says that when they got to that middle passage, because of the unknown, their disbelief, they begin to murmur and complain. And so many of us, man, we get to that middle passage and we begin to murmur and complain. It's not happening fast enough. The bills are still piling up. God, when are you going to do what you say you're going to do? I don't like the way this feels. And so what happened is those children began to, because of their murmuring and complaining, they wanted to go back to Egypt. They said, listen, let's just go back to Egypt, because at least back in Egypt, let's go back to their old job. Let's just go back to their old girlfriend, boyfriend.
Comfortable.
It was comfortable. They knew what that felt like. They didn't like it, but it was familiar. Mm-hmm. And so we got to get past that familiarity, man, and launch ourselves out there into the deep, man, because out there in the deep, that's where you're going to find some blessings. That's where you're going to find that joy. That's where you're going to find that peace. That's where you're going to find that. That's where you're going to find you.
That's where you're going to find the juice.
Inside of you is on the inside. It's out there in the deep. Yes. It's not on the shore. It's out there in the deep.
And it's sure the fuck ain't in this, staring at this all fucking day long. No, like so many people like good. I'm like, tell me what your screen time was last week. Like, oh, it was 16 hours. I'm like, how many of that 16 hours did you spend deliberately, intentionally researching things that you're struggling with right now?
There you go.
Or how many hours did you spend trying to avoid the things that you know you know? Fuck, I hate talking to you, Chris. I'm like, yeah. Because I mean, the answers are right there. I mean, like to your point, right? You got to go out there and you got to want it bad enough. You got to sit there and you got to put yourself out of that comfort zone. I'm reading a book right now called The Comfort Crisis. It's an incredible book. I've had a lot of people pick it up lately and they're starting to read it and like, oh my God, yeah, Chris. Because you think about it, we have so much opportunity for comfortability and certainty right now. We can order our food. We can, have everything delivered to us. We don't have to do a lot. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Wall-E. It's a kid's movie, but basically you've seen it. So it talks about, it shows all the people getting lazy and having the food. So that's literally what's happening. But the fact is that we're designed, we're built for that fight or flight. We're built for hunter gatherer. We're built for those things. So we're going against our grain and staying in that comfortable space because we don't grow. It's when we get uncomfortable. It's when we go for those uncertain times. It's when we take that jump, that leap of faith, like you said. That's when shit gets crazy because then we're alive. Then we're experiencing life. We're actually in the game. We're playing the game. We're not on the sidelines thinking, oh, someday I'm going to join that game, or yeah, that looks like a good play. I think I'm going to, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of your game and you realize that you're about to die. And then you realize, oh, all the regrets in our life, right? The book out there, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, in that book said that the number one regret of the people dying was the fact that they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live. They didn't live the life they wanted to live. My question for you, when you're thinking about that lowest point in your life where you change things around in 2022, before that moment, what was your biggest fear? And then after that moment, what has now become your biggest fear? Or has it changed?
I don't even think it's changed, man. I think my biggest fear has always been leaving a mark on this world. Like, that's my biggest fear. Like, dude, when he no longer wakes you up in the morning and your lights is out and you're done, what does your legacy say about you?
Yes.
Touch people. Have you made an impact on people's lives? Or were you just here just squandering the gift that God has given you? The skills that God, are you squandering? So that has always been my biggest fear, man. That's why I work so very hard. I want to kind of jump in. You said something earlier. We was talking about the little device that you have. And I think so many times, man, people aren't taking their life serious. They're not taking the precious life serious. Like, dude, I literally live every single day like it's my freaking last. I'm trying to squeeze everything out this day. And with that, bro, you're gonna have to put away some distractions. Right?
And excuses.
So if you find that the TV is your distraction, if you find a female is your distraction, if you find whatever your vice is, if you find that is a distraction in your life, in order for you to reach that next level, you're gonna have to do away with the distractions. You're gonna have to put some things aside. And most people not willing to do that. They like the comfort of things. They like to feel like they're doing something. People live in that they got this little disease, man, called Amaduitis.
Talk to me about that. Go deep on that, man. Go deep on that because I also know you're also in the personal fitness world and stuff like that. So talk to us about that.
Yeah.
Go deep.
People living that Amaduitis. They got that disease called Amaduitis. That's that disease that has plagued America, where everybody wants to talk about, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna go to the gym. Every single year we have this thing called goal setting, where we want to have a New Year's resolution. That's full of I'm gonna do's. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And about 30 days into that I'm gonna do, that list is on to that's packed up underneath somewhere. You done wrote your grocery list on top of that I'm gonna do list. You know what I'm saying? It's like I had a client today.
I gotta get out of my own way. Oh yeah.
You gotta get out your own way. I love it, man. You have to get out of your own way. And during that season, man, when I was out there in solitude, like I'm literally writing stuff down. Like I'm literally writing my life down and charting it out and trying to figure out what God has for me. And most people are not willing to do that. Things I knew I had to put away. I had made a commitment. I wasn't gonna be dating. It's hard because usually as a man, we jump out of one relationship, we on to the next one, right? It is sometimes it is what it is. But I had made a commitment that I was going to be solo, which was a hard thing. You know what I'm saying? To not let a female distract me from achieving my goals. And then my conversation is simply that. Listen, you showed up in my life at the wrong time, because unfortunately I'm so focused on my goals and my dreams right now. I have no time to be chasing a girl and trying to figure out what date we gonna go out and try to figure out what you gonna have for dinner and what kind of bag I gotta get you. I have no time for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm so focused on my goals and my dreams because I don't want to leave. As you get older, man, I know you have, I think you told me your age. I'm 53, but it's
I'm 25.
55. So you're 25. See, at a certain point, man, we going back the other direction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I want to live every single day like it's my last. And I'm so focused on chasing my goals and my dreams right now, man. I have put away the distractions, bro.
Good.
You have to. You have to.
You do. And something else you talked about in there, Chris, that I want to dig a little bit into is discipline, right? Doing the things that we don't feel like doing. As a no excuses coach, one of the biggest excuses I hear, and one of my biggest excuses as well, is I don't feel like it. 5 o'clock in the morning comes along. I'm going to go to the gym. It's cold outside. My bed's comfortable. I don't feel like it. Oh, I should do this. I should do this. Like, we should all over ourselves. Where does that discipline, what in your experience, what recommendations do you have for people to find that inner discipline? We kind of talked about doing our best before that. And I think our best is something where we can end the day actually feeling in our soul, I did a great job today. I did the best I could today. I impacted people today. I lived my purpose. I shared my gifts today. But so many people don't have that discipline. They don't have that ability to sit there and say, okay, that's the monkey brain. That is something that's designed to keep me safe and comfortable and certain and all that other stuff. And is really an hour going to give me an hour of sleep? Is that really going to make any difference? Or is spending 45 minutes in the gym, starting my day off on the right foot, getting that oxygen into my system, getting my blood flow going, getting myself started? How do we get people to have that better sense of discipline? And for me, the way I teach it is I get people the why, right? If you continue doing what you're doing right now, how is that going to play out for you? Yeah. Well, chances are I could die 10 or 15 years early. Okay. Is that something that's acceptable to you? Do you have people in your life you want to stay alive for? Yes. Okay. Who do you want to stay alive for? Okay. My kids. Why? Because I want to be a grandparent to them. Okay. I want to see them get married. I want to see them graduate school. Okay. So every day when you wake up, here's the leverage. Just because you don't feel like doing it, that's one thing. But picture yourself down the road having a conversation with your son or your daughter and saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to be there for your graduation. I'm not going to be there for your wedding. I'm not going to be there for your grandkids because I took shitty care of myself. And now I'm an insulin dependent diabetic. And now I'm going to have an amputation, whatever it might be. Forward thinking your brain, as much as people don't want to do, see the result of where it is that you're going right now, and then decide that that's not acceptable. And then do the things that are uncomfortable in order to get you out of that place. Because as you continue to do those, the excuses and the desire to do something different changes. Then all of a sudden you become addicted to the fact of like, man, if I don't get up in the morning and go to the gym, my shit's off. I'm not fucking closing sales. I'm not, I'm not the best boss I could be. I'm not the best dad I can be. What is that in terms of for what you teach your clients and what you teach people is to have that discipline?
I mean, you're spot on, bro. I mean, everything that you just said was just spot on. I try to bring things. First of all, I tell anybody, if you really want to hit your goals and you really want to hit your dreams and visions and all that type of stuff, get your coach.
Yep.
Get you a coach, because the coach is going to keep you accountable. And most people are not accountable to them. Listen to this. Yep. Most people are not accountable to themselves, but they'll be accountable to somebody else.
So true.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why, listen, you won't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning for yourself, but I bet you on the days that you got to go work, I bet you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Why? You're trying to not to be late at that job because you're trying to be accountable to somebody else. It's not really for you. It's really so they won't say that you're late. Preach. You're accountable to them. Yep. Right? So get yourself a coach. I'm a fitness coach, fitness trainer. My first clients at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. They don't pay me to get them in the gym and just start working out. That's not what they pay. They pay me for accountability. They pay me for accountability because they know that I'm going to be there at a certain time, right? You're going to be here at a certain time, and I'm going to push you to your max, right? You're not going to push yourself to your max, but when you're with me, I'm going to push you to the max. You know what I'm saying? And so when they leave, they hurting, they complaining, but they come back in the morning because they know
results.
They get results. That's all they want. People want results. And if you can help them get those results, they're going to pay you tremendously. You know what I'm saying? So I say the first thing is, if you really, because most coaches have coaches.
Well, I do. Sally Anderson, baby. And I have mentors. I have mentors. I have accountability partners. Yeah, that's why I'm successful and happy.
Because you realize left to your own device, you may not get that thing accomplished. But if you seek out the coach, you can collapse some time. You can be accountable to somebody else, and you're going to achieve your goals that much faster.
100%.
100%. So I would tell everybody, just get themselves a coach, a mentor, accountability partner. And then the other stuff is you really got to be committed to whatever it is that you're saying that you're trying to achieve. That's number one. You got to be committed to that thing. You can't.
How do you know if you're committed or not? Because so many people ask me like that. That's a great point. Sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I
no,
want
no.
to go on that a little bit. How do you know if you're committed enough? Like what what would you define commitment?
Okay, for me, man, if that thing keeps if and I do this even in my buying decisions. Like if I find something I want to buy, I won't buy it right away. But if that thing stays on me for a week
Yep.
or whatever, I'm going to get whatever it is that it was, right? So
Yeah.
I know that's what I really truly want. So I would say the same thing even on that commitment level. You talk about you want to lose weight. Okay. Stop, change your diet for a week and see what happens. Change it for a week and see what happens. If you were committed to that thing for that week with a burning desire, oh, you good.
Yeah.
But if that thing was, you couldn't even last that week, you wasn't really true. In my opinion, you wasn't really, really true. You were talking. I remember somebody was asking me, they said, hey, one of my clients, they was like, hey, there's a new diet out there, because we were talking about meal plans and all that. And she was like, well, can you help me with, it's like a Jenny Craig type of diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
You give me a discount on that. Can you do like a cheat code or whatever? I said, well, why don't you try the push away diet first? She said, what? I said, let's try that push away diet for about 30 days. Let's see what type of results we get in that. She was like, push away from the table, and see how that lasts for the last 30 days. See what type of results you get for that over 30 days. And then after that, we'll talk about that Jenny Craig. But if you can't even push yourself away from the table, you're not gonna do that Jenny Craig, baby. That's just a waste of time.
I love it, man. I want to capture some of these comments pretty quick, and I've got another question up for you. Thank you guys all for being here. We got Chris Kaysen in the house. I'm going to give you a chance to think about this one. He says, what about those who don't follow the Abrahamic faith? We've got that. So think about that question for a second. We got Debbie in the house. What's up, Debbie? You guys got to follow Debbie. She has an amazing podcast called Find It. It's on Thursday nights. Check it out. She says here, flawed, fabulous, and fearless. Thank you for being here. We got Robert Broker in the house. What's up? Ted is agreeing with what you were saying. He says, I agree, completely true. Chris Kaysen is also asking or saying here, he says, a scholar tries to learn something every day. A student of Buddhism tries to unlearn something daily. This is from Alan Watts. Unlearning and uninstalling the wrong info and junk to make room to install the new. Yes, I firmly believe that, Chris. There's so much in life that we can let go of and sacrifice and remove our tolerations. So thank you for chiming in on that, Chris. We got Catherine Lyon in the house. She says, stopped in to say hello, Christopher and Chris. Catherine Cat Lyon. What's up, Cat? Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in through LinkedIn. Catherine says here, being accountable to someone other than me is vital. Yes. I mean, even for me, the no excuses coach, people sit there and say, Chris, what are your excuses? My biggest excuse is I didn't feel like it. And my second biggest excuse is I'll get to that after I do this. And then half the time, because I have ADD on crack, I go to other things and I go all the other things. So like you said, when you have integrity with your word and you show up and you report to somebody and you pay, chances are you're going to pay attention. I've done coaching. I started off coaching, doing it free, just as my way of giving back to people, using my gift to help other people. I figured I'm not going to charge for it because it's my gift. God gave it to me. But I realized when people weren't paying attention. They started taking advantage of me. So when I started charging, I felt guilty about that because I'm like, well, it's a gift. I'm not, it doesn't cost me anything to share it. But once I started charging, then people started paying attention. And then the crazy thing, this is the thing that blew my mind. Once I started charging more, the caliber of people that were showing up and the caliber of the commitments that they were taking on also grew in commensuration with that. So I think that was amazing also. In your life, Chris, what has been the best piece of advice you've received?
In my life, it's a great question, man.
I just tattooed mine on my arm. So while you're thinking about that, I don't know if you've seen it, but it literally says on my arm, for those of you guys listening on the podcast, I had one on my other arm that says, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. So I put that on my right forearm. Now on my left forearm, it says, you are only limited by the parameters of your own mind. And that was given to me by William T. White. It was a gentleman when I was 17 years old, inspired me to go from a 7th grade dropout to go back and get my GED. He inspired me with these words, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind, to go into college. And I spent 12 years in college and not only got my associate's degree, but I got my master's degree. So for me, the best piece of advice is that you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind, because if you think you can't, like Henry Ford said, then you won't. Mm-hmm. So what's been the best piece of advice of your life, and how did you apply it?
I think I would, for me, the thing that I have been holding on to for the last couple of years that has just it's embedded in my brain, so I use that one, is that your gifts will make room for you. That's the piece of advice right now for myself that has just kept me going. And so now my whole focus is just honing in on my gifts. Just honing in on my gifts because it says that it's going to make room for me. So I'm always looking for the opportunity that my gift will make room. And so that's what I'm holding on to. That's the piece of advice I got.
So what is Chris's gift? You've mentioned the gift a few times. I think I know what it is, but I would love to hear it in your words. And the second part of that is, how do other people find their gift?
Mm-hmm. So my gift is definitely connecting to people and coaching. So that is definitely my gift. And so I love people. I love seeing people win. If I have the ability to believe for you sometimes, believe more for you than you believe in yourself.
Right.
And so that is my gift, a connector of people and a lover of people. And that's truly the gift. How does someone find their gifts? I think the thing that people would have to find their gift is, and it's so true when we always talk about find that thing that you would do.
Yep.
Right. Find that thing that you would do for free, and then you'll never have to work another day in your life. Right.
Yes. Yep.
And I think early on, I really didn't truly understand it. I'm thinking the skills and all this type of stuff. But I think that goes back to your gifts. That goes back to the very thing that makes you thrive. Like, and the thing that wakes you up in the morning. What I'm saying? You and I can have a conversation about, encouraging one another. We can do this all day long.
Yeah.
It's probably not even connected to it, but because of the passion that you and I have to see each other win, it fuels us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you tie that into where that gift is. Your gift is somewhere in that realm. That's the thing that got that. I know we're going to talk about that, Eric, the laws that the person said earlier about the faith. I think all these faiths have something very, very in common. It may not be the Christianity or the Buddhist or whatever, but they all have these things in common. The principles are pretty much all the same. They're interchangeable, right?
Yep.
So find the principle inside of wherever yours is, and it'll lead you back down that same direction, that same path, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I learned a long time ago, because again, I haven't been a religious person, but a spiritual person, is that I realized, and I can't take credit for it, but somebody once said God has multiple addresses. And that's the way I learned, because I've always been inquisitive. Like, tell me about the Quran, tell me about Buddhism, tell me about Christianity, tell me about Catholicism, tell me about Judaism, whatever. Tell me about the Satanic Bible. I've had people that were in the Satanic, like, why does that float your boat? What does it do for you? I've always been very curious about it. And what I've learned in my 50 plus years of being around here and asking that question is, you're absolutely right. Basically, they essentially say all the same thing. The biggest gripe happens to be, from what I understand, is like, who came first, and who says who gets to live where, and who's got the property and all that other stuff, which seems to be counterintuitive to what the preachings and the teachings say from those illustrious leaders, which kind of blows my mind. It's like, okay, if you're following the doctrine, how are we fighting about this and causing war and bloodshed and all this other stuff? Oh, that's probably because of people's egos, which is another conversation we can have. I want to shift gears for a little bit, because in being the man that you are today, and being the person that I am today as well, the man I am today, it's not for not having gone through tumultuous relationships, right? Betrayal, all sorts of backstabbing, all different things. We've all experienced that. Tell us about something that, perhaps, if you're able to, an experience where you were betrayed and you were backstabbed, but how potentially you found empathy and forgiveness for that person down the road, or something perhaps that maybe you did where you had to find empathy and forgiveness for yourself.
Sure. I think that's a great question, bro. That's a great question. And I don't know if I can say I actually forgave him. But I think I just cut him out of my life. I went, this is some years ago, man. This is some years ago. Betrayal. And I think what happens is, and I'm gonna answer your question. I think what happens is, we have the thing inside of us where we hope people will respond to us how we feel that we will respond to them.
Yep.
Right. And I think they're right. So that's the golden rule. So, but I think that golden rule sometimes plays against us. And I'm gonna tell you why. Like some years ago, I went through some stuff and needed some stuff, and reached out to a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and told him the scenario that it was like 20 grand that I needed, like real quick or something. And this guy was supposedly a multi-millionaire, had the bread, and I was going to give it back to him. I needed it like that week. I was going to give it back to him like the following week. some things were coming through, and he told me he couldn't do it, right? But he said, I'll call you back. He said, I'll call you back. I hadn't heard from that dude for like 2 years.
Whoa. So he was full of shit. He wasn't a millionaire, right? You caught him out on it?
Right, I called him out on it, right? But then he called me back and he wanted to talk about some network marketing company that he was involved in. So at that moment, I said, listen, dude, we don't have nothing to talk about. Like, you know, so I don't know if I forgave him or I just had an expectation, but I actually cut him out of my life. So at this season of my life now, I think I probably would have cut him out of my life a whole lot faster. So at this point in my life, it is truly building my own tribe, right? Those who rock with you, gonna rock with you, and those who don't rock with you, don't rock with you. And I think the need sometimes to be a people pleaser, the need to have people in your life, sometimes I think that can grip us to having the wrong people in our life as well, right?
True.
You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, it was going through those experiences, and now I'm able to look at people a little bit differently than I did before, because before I would look at you in, well, I know what I would do for you. Like if we're friends and you ask me if we're friends, I'm gonna make sure that I take care of the need as your friend. Right? I can't really call myself your friend and not help you take care of the need. I can't see you in danger. I can't see you in need or hurting, and I don't try to figure out how to fill that need. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, but now I'm realizing that you can't view people in a way that you know that how you would do them and expect them to have that same way to do them for you as well. Because that, I think that can grip us.
Yeah. What you're talking about is what you're talking about is expectations, right? We have a certain expectation, like, okay, the golden rule. That's what I teach my son. My son, in every situation, pretty much, I can sit there and think, you know, is somebody else doing that? Look around you, Jackson. Is anybody else doing that? Okay, that's probably not okay. And thinking about, okay, how would you want to be treated? Like he walks around and he scares people, but he doesn't like to be scared. I'm like, okay, so think about it. Before you do that, do you like to be scared? Yes or no? Well, no, not really. Okay, so what makes you think that everybody else is going to want to be scared? Maybe it's something like you have a relationship with somebody and say, okay, maybe we have a little challenge that we try to scare each other each time we see each other. Me and my buddies used to have that at work. We would try to sneak up behind, we would hide underneath their desk, and we'd grab their ankles when they sat down. We did all sorts of shit because we were always trying to get people to jump. But that golden rule is so massively important. And for me, in my life, because I have been betrayed, I've been backstabbed by work people, by so many different people in my life, I learned that really the biggest person that I was having the problem forgiving and having empathy for was my mom, right? So I was sitting there thinking, okay, empathy and forgiveness keeps coming up. Like you were saying, I was that type of person. I would just cut you out. When I'm done, I'm done. Like I literally wished my sister well back in 2005. I hadn't seen her since I was 9 years old. I had a relationship with her for about a year, couldn't take it anymore, wouldn't tolerate it, and said, see you later, have a great life. No animosity, just go have a great life. Awesome. Because when you do that, when you start to cut out the stuff that doesn't support you and isn't for the best for your soul, not even your ego, not your ego. When you sit there and you put yourself in the situation of realizing that carrying around that anger and that burden, that animosity and that frustration, is that doing you any good? Yes or no? No. And some people will say, yeah, it's good because it keeps me pissed off enough just to keep my business going. And I've helped people release I've had the situation happen before where I've taken away the reason why they're so pissed off and angry. But then they come back to me and like, my sales are down, my business is down because I no longer have that edge, and they're mad at me. And I'm like, well, let's recreate the edge in a more positive way. So they actually hire me back as their coach, and then we work on that aspect of it as well. But for me, the biggest thing that I'm getting to is when I looked at my mom and I said, how can I find empathy and forgiveness for you? You fucked my life up. You beat me. You hurt me. You called me names. I mean, it's half a fucking miracle that I'm anywhere the person I am that I am today. And that's been from a lot of hard work and dedication. But I thought about it. I'm like, if I had been born in 1942, if I had been a female, if I had been born to parents that were 22 years old, going with a world war going on, with the financial crisis, with the depression and all of this, might I have been like her? Wow. Maybe if my parents wouldn't have let me go outside, maybe if my parents pushed me to be a scholastic genius and graduate school at the age of 15, maybe I would be like her. Maybe if I, and I started realizing that if I went through all the shit that she went through, I would probably be like her. And I wanted to argue with myself for weeks when I was like pondering this in my brain. I'm like, okay, is this a legit thing? So I chew on it for a while before I help my clients with it. And I really thought, like, she was born into this world to have those experiences for her to become the person that she became.
Mm-hmm.
She became that person because I needed that person in my life to become who I became. So what I was able to do is not only find empathy and forgiveness, but to spin it around as I usually do and to find appreciation and gratitude for the fact that she was fucked up. Because she was fucked up, it caused me to question my sanity and my reality in the world. And it caused me to sit there and choose not to be a victim, to choose to be a victor, and to bust my ass like we've been talking about through this entire episode, to have that discipline, to have that commitment, to have that resiliency, to have that big why, to have that leverage. And so for me, I was able to sit there and say, wow, I feel sorry for you. And I'm also grateful for you being in my life and causing me all those challenges. What are your thoughts on that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. It's what you did was you repositioned your own thought process to say, you know, what did my mom go through?
Right.
Like what was she dealing with that allowed her or made her deal with you the way that she had to deal with you? And then from that perspective, you saw it from a totally different perspective. You know what I'm saying? And that's a gift. That's a gift that most people don't have, is to be able to have that empathy level. We all have sympathy. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through that. Or even my friend, I'm sorry that you need that $20,000. But the empathy is like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
Let me put myself in his shoes.
Feel it. Yeah.
You feel it a whole lot different, man. You feel it a whole lot different. And then therefore, that's where that forgiveness comes from. Now you're able to say, you know what? I forgive you based upon the fact that you was dealt some pretty bad cards. You was dealt with some pretty bad cards. And now that I know that, and now that I understand that from not just from my head knowledge, from an emotional, give me a hug. You know what I'm saying? That's what I just want to poke a hug on that one, man. So kudos, man. That's good stuff. Yeah. I agree 100%.
Thank you. And it's honestly, it's helped me out in my professional life too. I had a boss for a while, for about 4 years. He and I did not see eye to eye. He was a good guy, but we just could not see eye to eye. And the way he approached me and everything was just wrong. And it was very condescending and all sorts of stuff. And I was so mad at him. Like, I literally wanted to physically hurt him. And then it was like, okay, how can I apply what I'm learning here with my mom? How can I apply this to David? How can I sit there and as much as I want to knock his head off, how can I have empathy and forgiveness for him? How can I see things from his perspective? He's coming at things from a very egoic standpoint. Like how he looks is very important. How he talks to me in front of other people is very important to him. How he appears to be in control and And I started thinking about it. I'm like, he was probably that kid on the playground who got the shit kicked out of him. He was probably the kid never invited to play. He was a skinny dude. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, he was probably that guy that never had any self-esteem. And this is his way of actually feeling important. This is his way of establishing some sort of sense of confidence that he can do something right. And when I started seeing that from us being little kids in the sandbox, which I look at adults as us all being kids, and it helps me not get pissed. It helps me understand people at a cellular level, like, okay, because we're still all little boys and little girls trying to figure it the fuck out. Half the time we figure it out, and then God calls our card and says, okay, you figured it out. Now I need you to do something else. That's the way I see it. Right. So yeah, it's helpful. The other aspect of that also that I wanted to share with people that are listening and watching that think about this, the power of visualization in that also, and the power of forgiveness is like really physically putting yourself in those situations and thinking about, okay, wow, what would that have been like? What would it have been like to be in those situations? Because then you have that emotional component to it. And then when you see that person, my immediate reaction no longer was like, I want to punch you. Now it's like, I really want to get to know this guy. And so he was my boss, and I said, why don't we go out to lunch one of these days? And I said, let's just not talk business. I'd like to get to know you on a personal level. And he wasn't that type of person, but because of the person I am, I get people to talk really easy. And as I started to understand, I'm like, what was your childhood like? He's like, what is this, like a Barbara Walters interview? And I said, no, man, I just want to know where you came from. And at that point, I really wasn't doing a podcast and stuff like that, but I've just always been naturally curious. And again, asking those questions, seeking first to understand, which is paramount in my life. It's one of the reasons why I'm successful to this day is I shut up and I listen and I ask questions and I understand. And then I'm able to say, okay, so what I hear you saying, Chris, is this, or what I hear you say, David, is this. Because when people are heard and they're understood, great things start to happen. Connection and trust start to happen. Even if the person doesn't want to, they will start to know, like, and trust you. And that's the one thing that I started putting within David is I felt that in my analyzation of what was going on, he knew I was a very strong person. He came into the situation where I could have done his job. And so I'm thinking, okay, I have to let him know that I'm not going to take his job. Like, I don't want finance and all that other stuff. So as soon as he started to understand me, he didn't come into the relationship with the seek first understand. He wanted me to be understood. But as I was able to break down his barriers, he was able to see that I wasn't a threat.
Right.
And the more I was able to understand him, the more I was able to put myself in his situations and speak to him in that supportive way. No longer did he start talking to me condescendingly. Then all of a sudden he started talking to me in a teamwork. Hey, can I get your ideas on this? Can I get your, hey, what do you think about this? I started becoming an adversary for him. Not adversary, an alliance.
Advocate.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna share that for everybody. One of the other questions I have for you, because dude, we can literally talk for a long time. It's like 45 minutes now. One of the things that I love to do, before I do that, I want to capture a couple of these comments. Nelly says here, she goes, recognizing your gifts and letting them live is how we find our purposes in our life in this world. 100%. Big time. Ted is commenting on Christopher Kaysen's comment, saying so true. Ted says here, I agree, Christopher Rausch. And then we've got also Nelly saying here, but Christopher Rausch, you would still be a great life coach, helping people no matter what your mom did or didn't do. This is your purpose. Nothing could have kept you from this. Perhaps. I think so. I think also, I think with a supportive mom and the right parents, I think I really could have been a musician, which is why I think that's my heart of hearts passion when I was a kid, is to do that. But if I had the right parents and supportive parents, I think that could have been a dream as well. But this is what was going to be in the cards for me to happen. So anyways, and Nelly says here also, we are always the great human being we were born to be. Some of us might have to tap into the gifts earlier rather than later because of the dysfunctional leadership from our parents. But our parents' actions don't bring or take away greatness from our greatness. Yes.
Facts.
Boom. Big time right there. So as we close out the show, I'm a big man. For me, the reason why I'm here today and the reason why, thank you very much, Nelly, that I'm a great coach is I ask questions. And to me, questions, when answered honestly, have the power to change our lives like that.
Absolutely.
If we choose to, am I happy in this relationship? Yes or no? Not maybe, not sort of. No. Okay. Next question. What am I willing to do to repair this? Or am I at that point where I want to leave? Those questions can really lead to change. Is it going to suck? Is it going to be uncomfortable? Sure. You've experienced that in 2022. What are some questions that you either like to ask yourself and/or that you like to ask your clients to jar those kind of things, like really like life opening questions for you?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those for you?
Some of the questions, man, like you said, it's are you happy? I always start, are you happy?
Yeah.
Like, are you happy? Are you happy with the weight that you have right now? Are you happy with the way your clothes fit right now? Are you happy in the relationship that you're in?
Yeah.
I always start with there, and then I break that down. I think you can get so much information if a person is honest with that one question alone, because it's going to lead you down so many different pathways. Because now it's, okay, what about your clothes are you not happy with? What about your weight are you not happy with? What about, what about your relationship that you're not happy with? It's going to lead you down so many different paths. And so for me, I'm always going to ask my clients when they come in is, first of all, what's your number one goal?
Yep.
And are you happy with that right now? You know what I'm saying? I want to lose weight. Okay, so let's talk about that. Are you happy with your weight now? No. Okay, so what about your weight aren't you not happy with? How would that make you feel once you get that weight off you? Mm-hmm. What are you going to be able to accomplish once that weight is off you? So yeah, I'm always leading a series of questions, but the number one question I'm always asking is, are you happy with this?
Mm. I've got another one for you to use with your clients if you're not using it already.
I'm gonna write it down.
Tell me more about that.
I love it.
Because when I have people coming to me for coaching for usually weight related issues or health related issues, it's like, why do you want to lose weight? Oh, I want to fit in my clothes. Why do you want to fit in your clothes? Because I want to look good. Why do you want to look good? Because I want to be seen as confident. Why do you want to be seen as confident? Oh, so I get promotions. Okay, why do you want to get promotions? So I just keep drilling until I get to the real root.
There you go.
Because I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be alone. I want to mate. I want to find somebody in my life. Okay, well that's something we can do something with, because losing weight is one goal. But finding a partner in life, that's multiple goals. So let's attack it from that to make sure you're successful, because losing weight is going to be just one certain aspect of that. And that might even be the aspect that you need to work on the most in order to get that situation. So that might help you as well as going deeper. But man, this has been great. I appreciate you being here. I mean, literally we can go.
I want to answer that real quick.
Sure.
You talked about something. usually what I found, man, is as you're asking those questions, you're probably not going to get to the real answer until about seven layers in. About 7 layers in, that's when you're gonna get the real stuff. Those first few answers, those gonna be surface. Those gonna be thought of. You know what I'm saying? But when you keep asking that question multiple times, by the time you get down to that 7th and 8th time asking that question, now you're gonna get to some real stuff. Now you may get to some childhood traumas that you didn't even know that, you know, you might get down to the fact, well, I want to lose weight because when I was 2 years old and I was overweight, and my father called me an overweight, fat, something. And I remember it made me cry, and I went out to that backyard and I started crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Oh.
You've heard that before.
You see what I'm saying? So now you want to go back to that little girl that was embarrassed and felt like such and such because your dad gave you an image problem, and now you want to correct that image thing. I got it. So now we can deal with that. Good stuff, bro. Good stuff.
Beautiful stuff. Ted says here, he says, aligning with your enemies is a smart thing to do. It allows you to learn what people don't like about you and helps you learn how to change those things or work around them. 100%. I just literally ask people, I'm like, tell me what things I need to work on. For the most part, my biggest complaint that I get from people is I talk too fast. Like I was asking, like, what can I do to make the show better? Like, Chris, you just talk too fast. I just gave a presentation I'm doing more business consulting now. And I just gave a presentation for an organization for their CEO group and everything. And then the chat, I noticed when I was talking that a few people would talk, can you please slow down? And I actually thought I was talking slower.
Sure.
I was like, oh my God. They're like, they thought they were drinking through it. They said they were drinking through a fire hose. And I'm like,
that's just the passion coming through. That's all.
It is. I just get wound up. And then also, I mean, truth be told, I mean, I tend to talk fast because my brain works fast. And if I talk slow, then I forget the thought.
There you go.
Because my brain is just always so wired and everything else. But speaking of brains, how can people pick your brains, man? Where can they get a hold of you on social media and continue this conversation?
Yeah, you can check me out on, Facebook, Christopher Allen. Go to I got a couple pages out there. You can go to Christopher Allen. Go to my On the Grind Coach on Facebook. Instagram is On the Grind Coach _ that's my Instagram. TikTok is also On the Grind Coach as well. Yeah. So I'm on all social media platforms. What was that? I'm on all social media platforms.
You are.
I ain't hard to find, like Dion says. I ain't hard to find.
And for those of you guys listening to this podcast while you're driving or whatever, actually all of his links are in the show notes. So when you get a chance to pull over to the side of the road, you want to check out Chris, feel free to go into the show notes and you can click those links. You can find Chris on Facebook and in LinkedIn or Instagram as well. Brother, I appreciate you being here and sharing your gifts with me and with my esteemed audience. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I definitely want to continue supporting one another throughout this life. And I think there's some greatness that we can collaborate on with some other people that I know that we can help some kids in this world. So definitely be picking on your brain on that. So meanwhile, I'm going to put you backstage. Don't go anywhere so I can still have a conversation with you for a second, but I'm going to end out the show.
Thanks, man.
You got it, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there it is. Christopher Allen, Chris Allen on the show, spitting fire, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys in the comments have been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Chris Kaysen. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you, StreamYard. Look at StreamYard was even here. I'm just kidding. No, but think about the overall conversation tonight. If you came into the conversation halfway through, go back and watch the beginning of it because I know you've been watching the show for probably a long time and you know that Chris gets a little wordy in the beginning, but guess what? I've shortened that up. So we just drop right into the conversation. The conversation tonight has been about resiliency, about no excuses, about finding your big why, about getting out of your own way, about digging to the deeper root of the situation as opposed to dealing with the symptom of the situation, right? It's all about leverage. Think about where you're at in your life right now. If you had more leverage, you would take more action. If you had more leverage to get unstuck, right? You've ever heard the story where the guy is walking past the guy's house and there's a dog sitting on the front porch area and the dog is moaning. And the guy goes, why is the dog moaning? Every time I walk by every day, he's just, and he's like, oh, he's laying on a nail. And he's like, well, why doesn't he get up? And he goes, it's not enough to bother him. Think about that. It's just not enough to bother you right now. You're in a personal relationship. You're in a business relationship. You got stuff going on in your life and you're tolerating it. You're putting up with it. I can handle it. It's no big deal. It's just a little thing. 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 Those little things add up. You ever been to a picnic and had flies buzzing around your face while you're trying to eat? Doesn't hurt. Annoys the fuck out of you, doesn't it? Take care of the flies in your life, ladies and gentlemen, If something is annoying you, if something is not living up to the prosperity of what you believe that you deserve, right? That's a whole other conversation. You got to stop tolerating that stuff. You got to let go of what's not working for you. You have to let go of the people that are not working for you in your life. When you think about what Chris was talking about in 2022, getting to the bottom of his rope, sitting there saying, God, take me now or show me the way, right? It's about that proactive leverage. It's about finding your why and your gift. It's about realizing that if you think you're doing your best, I can almost promise and guarantee you, you're capable of so much more. That's why I love what Chris said is about getting a coach. I have a coach. I have accountability partners I check in with every week. I run a group accountability coaching program, for God's sakes. So you guys listening and watching out there, you need more accountability in your life and you don't have much money to afford. I created this group that is truly, truly amazingly affordable, right? Like Chris said, when you invest in yourself and you take that leap of faith and you put your eggs in a basket and you start saying, hey, listen, I'm going to take myself seriously. I'm going to surround myself with people who are going to get me to hold me accountable. Just imagine if you did 3 things a week for 52 weeks, what would happen? 3 things a week, 52 times 3. I don't know what that is, but that's a lot of things getting accomplished when you're held accountable to your word. And not only that, when you're held accountable to the right things that are supposed to be doing in your life in order to get you the happiness that you deserve. You need those people in your life, ladies and gentlemen. I have those people in my life. I did it solo. I didn't have masterminds. I didn't have coaching. I didn't have all that stuff. And I was doing it, but I was doing it barely. And I was doing it okay. I was doing it good enough. But when I realized I don't want to get to the end of my rope or the end of my road and realize that there was so much more left in the tank, that I could have done so much more if I had invited people into my life and I had spent the money to invest in myself. And that's when I started doing that in 2013. I ditched my suit and tie. I became congruently, authentically who I am, the no excuses coach. I started attracting people in my life who really got to know me and love me, right? I didn't have to pretend to be anybody else I wasn't just to get the validation and the acceptance from everybody else. I believed in myself. And I want you to believe in yourself too, because time is going to go by either way. And yes, if you got to do something, it's going to suck and it's going to take time and it's going to be hard. But on the other side of that, you're going to become so much more stronger and resilient. And you're going to realize that all those other things that I've been avoiding in my life, now I have the courage and the confidence and the resiliency and the leverage to go forward and tackle those, right? Don't run away from them. Don't run away from your problems, ladies and gentlemen, because they're still going to be there and they're going to get bigger. Instead, stand tall, have integrity with yourself, and take that action bit by bit, bite by bite, every single day in every single way. Learn to tackle your issues and go to bed every single night with the thought in your brain, I did my best today. There was blood, sweat, and tears, man. I gave it my all. I did this and I did this and I did this, and I didn't listen to my excuses. And guess what? It may not be perfect, but at the end of the day, when you feel good, when you go to bed and you feel accomplished and you feel like you're living on point and you know that you did your best, it's pretty incredible how you sleep. And then when you get a great night's sleep, guess what? When you wake up in the morning and you're grateful for getting another day, like Chris said, every single day you get another opportunity to live your life, to go out there and experience your life, to be adventurous and be curious. Stop squandering it, ladies and gentlemen. Stop. Please live your life. Go out there, take chances and risks and be scared and have exciting times. Take those risks. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to take anything with you. What you're going to do is you're going to leave behind a legacy, like Chris said, which is beautiful. Leave your legacy every single day in every single way. If this is the last thing I ever do, I know my son and my wife can watch this and go, wow, Dad was on point. Chris was on point. He was living his legacy to say that he was fighting for what's right and what's fair, and he's risking for which that matters. And he's leaving the world a better place for who he was and what he did. That is from my eulogy. That is from thinking with the end in mind and working backwards. And I invite you guys to do that. Anyway, there I go. Those are my final thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, next week coming up here on the Raw and Unscripted show. You guys always ask me who's coming up next week. Who's coming up next week? Next week, we have my buddy, Mr. Mike Phillips. Mr. Mike Phillips is going to be on the show. This guy's a tremendous asset. He's going to be speaking some words of wisdom into you guys. So be here again if you want to. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live for the video cast, or catch us, of course, on podcast, wherever podcasts are sold, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, wherever it is. Just type in Christopher Rausch, R-A-U-S-C-H. Not only can you see this show, the Raw and Unscripted show, but I do another show called The Unfiltered Experience too, every Friday night with my buddy Scott Coyette. So go in there, type in Christopher Rausch. You'll see both of my shows. And with that, I'm going to bid you a farewell. I'm going to go enjoy my family and my moments. I hope the show and this conversation inspired you to take action. Please share this out. Let's make a difference in the world. I love you guys. Go out there and be brilliant. Go out there, be unstoppable and kick ass, and live your life. Peace.